Welcome to the Conscious Parenting Workout. My name is Carlo. I will be presenting this webinar today on behalf of the International Maternity and Parenting Institute. I am also the founder of the International Maternity and Parenting Institute. I am a life coach and health coach. And before we begin, I'm going to first start out with a disclaimer. The information that is presented today is not meant to diagnose, treat, examine, or replace any medical conditions, okay, any medical advice, or any therapeutic advice. If you are experiencing any health issues, mental, emotional issues, anything that comes up as you are moving through this webinar, it is advised you please contact your doctor or therapist. And the information that is shared here is for informational purposes only, for expanding your personal development, curiosity. And if you should have any questions about the webinar, you can contact us at the Maternity Institute, info@maternityinstitute.com. I'm going to begin first with how I came up with this whole workout and how it was developed. So besides being a health coach and life coach and the founder of this institute, I actually began working in the health and fitness industry over 23 years ago as a group exercise instructor. So I've been in the health and fitness industry for a long time, then became a personal trainer, Pilates instructor, yoga instructor, got into all the different facets of coaching. And you name it, I've just been very passionate about all areas of life, then became a business coach and so on. And when I became a parent, I was really moved by the amount of information that was out there and sorting and navigating it through it all and really finding what was appropriate for my life and my children. And it became quite a journey and an inspiration for me that I decided to shift my work, and that's how I founded this institution. According to a recent article in Scientific American titled Secrets of Successful Parenting, Amazon offers more than 180,000 parenting guides, more than double the number of diet books, as a psychology professor, Robert Epstein, notes in What Makes a Good Parent. You would think or imagine that with such a large number of guides available and growing, right, that surely our parenting challenges are on the decline. However, I have found that while there are many supportive and insightful guides to parenting, one of the reasons parents continue to struggle is due to the absence of daily physical, mental, and emotional training necessary to build to what I refer to as our parenting muscles and parenting core strength. So many of us are probably very familiar with the core strength and core training, right, functional training. And the same way we work to do that for our bodies, to strengthen our bodies, it requires very similarly work to parent. It's an actual skill. And it's very interesting because when I became a parent, not only did I get to experience firsthand what I'm speaking to you about, but then I began to really understand my clients a lot more and really started putting two and two together and integrating all that I had learned from my health and fitness world and associating that with what was happening with parenting. For example, I have found that, for example, we know that if we want our bodies to perform a certain action, let's say like a cartwheel, or we want to leap into the air, or we want to bodybuild and compete in bodybuilding, we want our bodies to look a certain way, feel a certain way, perform a certain way. It takes and requires a certain amount of actions, an amount of practice on a daily basis, right, or a consistent basis every week, doesn't always have to be daily, in order to reshape the body and to put it on a path to then execute and to apply that which we want it to do, right, the outcome. So when it comes to parenting, I have found that this is actually very similar. Quite often, the expectation is that parents should know it all from the get-go, that we should know how to act and behave with our children, that we should show up completely compassionate and present and ready. And if we don't, we're a very bad parent. But no one's passed on to me, for example, the skills to be a parent. I learned them from my experiences of being a child that was passed down from my family, and they learned from their family. And while there's childbirth education classes and, again, many parenting guides, the reality is that our experiences and our beliefs are shaped from the day that we have been conceived, right, in our mother's womb, and they've been formulating and strengthening. And so how we show up for our children has a lot to do with the stories we've formulated, the habits we've created, the feelings that we have. And in order to reshape that, it requires a skill. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So, and what I'll also say here is that the lifestyle of many families today is one that's on the go, 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 and there's so many things to get done, and space is filled up to the max, and people don't have time. And as a result, there's a lack of self-care and support and healing and growth. And so what I'm going to share today are some tools and some practical ways to do that, and I'll explain why. So as I shared, this really began with my journey, understanding where I was getting stuck and recognizing why. I've read all the books, I understand them very well, but why, when I'm in the circumstance with my child, am I still having a challenge? Well, first I recognized if I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm stressed out, if I haven't taken space for myself or given to myself, it's going to be that much more challenging to show up compassionately and present for my child. So I had to get very real about that, because how can we give to someone else if we can't give to ourselves? We can only give what we have to give. And we can't give if we don't give to ourselves, right? It's like when we replenish and restore, then of course we can give from that. Now, keep in mind that I'm also not speaking in an ideal way or in a way that is suggesting perfectionism. Every day is going to have its own flavor. And while we have, let's say, our daily parenting skills building and growing, there will be moments where we will be navigating on the fly and on the go. But the more aware we become and the more we prepare and we strengthen our parenting skills, the easier it will be to navigate through those challenges. So it's not about becoming a perfect parent. This is not why I'm presenting this webinar. It's more about recognizing the skills. So in the same way that a dancer trains, let's say a ballet dancer, a ballroom dancer trains many, many, many years to do what they do, even as amazing as they become, they still have work to do. There's never a time, even after 10 or 20 years of dancing, that they find themselves having reached their end. There's always something to continuously work on. So very similarly, it's the same with parenting. So what I did is when I started putting two and two together, I recognized that when I was feeling stuck, I wasn't giving to myself. I needed to find solutions to do that practically in my life. And in addition to that, I also had to become very real about my discomfort with the crying or the tantrum that would arise and where that was coming from. And when I combined reflecting on these two, I was able to understand and see where I was being stuck and then find some solutions that integrated a lot of what I learned in all the different fields that I've been working in. So the Conscious Parenting Workout offers a 15-minute or a 30-minute physical, mental, and emotional self-care workout journey that provides parents or caregivers, anyone working with children, an opportunity to heal old wounds, dance with challenging emotions, build parenting muscle and core strength, so parents gain strength, stamina, resilience, and awareness necessary in order to show up fully present, rejuvenated, understanding, and available for their children. First, I want to begin, before I go into the workout, is looking at a couple of the typical responses to crying or tantrums that I see. I actually have seen these responses to infants as well. So while normally, especially with an infant, you'd want to find out and investigate. With all children you do, but in general, you know, are they hungry? Do they need feeding? In public especially, I have observed these common responses with children of all ages, like I said, from infancy up until, you know, 7, 8 even. So the common responses are to ignore or to do anything to stop their child from his or her behavior, from the crying or the tantrum. And while both of these responses are opposite from one another, right, completely ignoring or completely giving in and indulging to their child, getting them to stop to cry, what they share in common is that the child's behavior is not acceptable, okay? It's not acceptable. This is why I'm ignoring you. I'm not going to put up with this behavior, and you're going to learn that it needs to stop because I'm going to ignore you. Or, please, I'll do whatever it takes. Just I can't take it anymore. Just stop the crying, right? Just stop it. And what happens also is that the child's behavior may also, and there's many reasons, these are just two of the many reasons, but some of the common reasons, two of the common reasons that child behavior is interpreted as negative, right? It may be seen as negative, like, not good to cry or throw a tantrum, it's a bad thing. I've done something wrong or they've done something wrong that led to this. And quite often it feels very uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that, again, we just have to block it out or we have to overindulge it. So if we look at modern day parenting solutions, and I'm looking at the ones that are bringing in the approach of neither ignoring or overindulging, really taking a deeper connection with relationship to one another. The modern day parenting solutions recommend that we show compassion for our children by not ignoring or giving in, by indulging them, but by rather being calm, present, and offering a shoulder to lean on while maintaining our boundaries. Also recommends we face our own discomforts with our child's behavior and not allow their distress to overcome us. Recommends we take preventative measures to see what led to the child's crying or tantrum to minimize the reoccurrence in the future, and recommends that we teach our children by role modeling ourselves, and also, when the child is old enough, being able to share with them beneficial and effective ways of dealing with their emotions and showing them how ineffective it is to react the way that, let's say, they're reacting. But again, what I have found is if your tolerance level is very low, and your tolerance level may be very low due to, again, lack of sleep, poor nutrition, and I don't want to say poor because there's no good or bad, it's just nutrition that is not really providing the most benefits to your body, okay? The most optimal functioning to your body. So lack of sleep, optimal nutrition. If you're not taking any space, you have no space for yourself whatsoever, and you just get hit with this cry or this tantrum, it's extremely challenging to be calm. It's very interesting to tell a parent who's on the verge of, you know, like they haven't had time to give to themselves, and just to tell them, please be calm, be present with your child, and adding that additional guilt factor when they simply cannot do it and not understanding why. Okay, so for, a little while I went through that myself. I kept getting, I'm naturally a perfectionist. I'm very determined when I put my mind to something, and I just couldn't understand why I just could not execute and apply these modern day solutions effectively. And then I had to get very real again about, why that was. And then I said, wow, wait a minute. I haven't been practicing this. I haven't been giving time to myself. This is a skill. It's a skill. So I'm very grateful for having been working in the health and fitness industry for quite a while to really then have the ability to associate and connect the dots between how our body works with reshaping and rehab and performance, and how that really relates to the way we act and behave with ourselves and with our children. Okay, so before I get into presenting the actual workout, I want to say that the workout's simple. So it's not overcomplicated. It's simple in a layout, in the format, but it's also very deep and can get very deep. And so if you find yourself in a place where things arise for you, let's say emotionally, and you need that additional support, you need someone to talk to, you want to reach out, please do so. This is not meant to all do on your own. Some of you may find you can do that effectively, but some of you may find in this exploration that reaching out will be very supportive for you. And I do recommend it, especially if you begin to notice that there's experiences that arise, and you'll see why. I'll talk about that in a moment. All right, so what this workout is meant to do is give you an opportunity to look at the couple of areas where you find yourself getting stuck. And typically getting stuck is with the discomfort, the feeling that the actual crying gives to us. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to recognize the importance of self-care and being very practical about it. So it's not about giving an extreme amount of time to yourself, right? It's about taking just pockets of moments in your day, throughout the week, where you can just take a breather. And while technology, we are all finding ways to integrate it into our lives and use it in the way it's most beneficial, one of the great advantages of it is that there are many apps available on our smartphones that wherever we are, we can use guided meditations and sounds, nature sounds, and so on, even yoga nidra. There's so many wonderful tools out there one can utilize to bring upon self-care. Now, what do I mean by self-care? Well, the number one thing that I feel is helpful as a start, besides just, getting more sleep when and where you can, giving your body nutrition where it needs it the most, moving, right? Giving yourself an opportunity to move. So if you find yourself sedentary a lot, right? So there's some very common day-to-day foundations for health, right? So while I advise those, it's about the primary self-care intention is about releasing tension, okay? Because if we don't release the tension that we feel, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then when the moment comes that our child is crying or throwing a tantrum, if we haven't released our tension, our tolerance for that is very minimal. And it becomes, again, very challenging to show up calm and present and compassionate to our child. And then, of course, knowing how to respond to that. So first, it's giving yourself pockets every day and finding those pockets. It could be during nap time. They could be when your child's napping. It could be during lunchtime at work. It could be when your child's at school, when they're with another family member or your significant other, or you know, after your child's gone to bed. Just finding, or early in the morning before they wake up. So finding pockets, and you can find them, just pockets, nothing extreme, pockets of moments where you can just take time to tune into your breath. And most times it works with the guided meditation, because doing it on your own is not always the easiest. There's Calm app. These are all apps, Yoga Nidra. There's so many out there. Relaxing Melodies, where it gives your body, your mind, your emotions an opportunity to unwind. We store so much in our bodies. We store so many experiences and so many emotions. And again, they build and build and build if we don't release them. So that's the first thing. Once you begin to integrate that, as it's no different than brushing your teeth. You know, just imagine it's like cleaning out your system. In the same way you brush your teeth, make sure there's no plaque buildup or cavities that come. In the same way we go to the bathroom. In the same way we take a shower, make sure we clean our hair. This is the same thing that we need for our internal system. While we're doing all these other functions, on an emotional level, on a personal development level, we need the same kind of cleansing. We need to cleanse our system from all the buildup that's happening in there. So this is key, along with everything else that I mentioned, of course, right? Sleep and nutrition and movement, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. Then this brings me to the second thing, which is the crying itself. So once you've gone into place your tension reliever, okay, and you've gotten an opportunity to give that to yourself, and that's come into your life on a regular basis, you're going to integrate an opportunity. You can actually do them in conjunction, and I'll be following up with more. This is just an introductory. I'll be coming up with more information and a lot more instruction. But for now, what you're going to do is, and you can find this, I'll show you, you can find these online. You don't have to purchase them. If you want to, you can, but you're going to need a journal, a pen, space to move, inspiring music, and actually have to add this, I thought I added it, pre-recorded audio of child tantrum or crying. And believe it or not, when I was looking to put together an audio of this and doing some guided meditations, I found a whole slew of these. So I'm just going to show you where now. Where's right here? I think this is it. No, that's not it. One second. Let me just find it here. Where are we? There we go. Here we go. Okay. So let me share my desktop. If you go into pond5.com, you can search, do a search, and this will come up. So, for example, here I have a tantrum of a 2-year-old for 19 seconds. Baby having a tantrum for 1 minute, 24 seconds. A tantrum of a 2-year-old for 18 seconds. So you'll hear, or you'll read rather, in my workout that you only need to play about 10 to 20 seconds. Okay, that's plenty of that audio. So you're going to sit or stand in a comfortable position. Preferably, people would like to sit, but you can stand as well. If you have a standing station, use it. You can stand as well. You're going to find, and again, you can use Pond 5. There's others, but this you can just, like I said, go there and just play it. Find and play an audio of a baby crying or throwing a tantrum for 10 to 20 seconds. Okay. Now, utilize the pre-recording. You don't want to use your actual child's circumstance, because the whole purpose of this workout and developing the skill and resilience and this awareness is to train for it, right? So it's almost like You don't want to show up for, you don't want to use the bodybuilding competition to compete when you're not ready yet, right? You want to train first, right? So this is kind of like similar to that. As you listen to the pre-recorded audio, you want to bring awareness to the feeling that arises in you, okay? So as I'm going to go ahead and play, let's say, this tantrum of this 2-year-old. Okay, I'll stop it there. You'll play that for 10 to 20 seconds. Notice what arises, what comes up for you. Notice if your initial reaction is to push the feeling away or to, but you want to stay with it. So once you are listening or during the listening of this pre-recorded audio, bring awareness to the feeling that arises in you as you're hearing your baby cry, or sorry, not yours, but this pre-recording baby cry or tantrum. Notice the feeling that arises in you. Notice if you want to push it away, which is very common, but stay with it and notice what comes up, okay? Now once the recording ends, so then again, 10, 20 seconds, it stops. Take your journal and pen and begin to share your experience in your journal. Write how you feel and why you think you feel that way. Is there a story behind that? Do you have a recollection of when you were a child? Or is there a fear that comes up? Or is there a belief that comes up? Okay? Now you might notice that the first time, because it's so alarming or maybe it's so strong, you may not feel right. Your first instinct is to block, and for that reason, you don't notice anything. You just block right away. And then what you'll do is you'll go back, you'll give it space, and the next day, you'll go back to the same exercise and you try it again. You'll notice that eventually what will happen is, because we're all moved by sound, you know, you hear the sound of nature, you hear the sound of a song, you hear the sound of a voice, and some things move us more than others, but they all bring qualities of energy to us. Some are very soothing, some are very annoying and frustrating, okay? Even if you sense frustration, oh, I can't stand the sound of crying, or oh, it's so frustrating or so stressful to hear a baby cry, write that down. Why is that? Okay, what's happening? All right, so then, once you write this down, ask yourself how you think your feelings about this are influencing the experience you have when your child cries or throws a tantrum. Now again, keep in mind, the answers may not come up right away, may take some time to come up, but this is just a process. How have you responded in the past to your child? And would you like to change that? Do you feel that there's an opportunity to change that? Do you feel the answer is to ignore or to indulge? Or do you feel that there's another way but you just don't know how? Okay? And then there's 4 action steps or 4 steps that I utilize in what I call change or adaptability. Oops, I meant to put equal. Or we could say reshaping, which is first acknowledging how we feel. I'm frustrated by the crying. I can't stand it. This brings up, you know, my own insecurities, or my guilt of being a parent, or my mom reminds me when I was a child and how my mom treated me or dad treated me or whatever, right? Whatever. So acknowledge what you're feeling. Forgive and be compassionate for the feeling, because it is what it is. There's nothing wrong. It's not good. It's not bad. What happens quite often is we label something good or bad, And as a result, we can't move past that. We've already made a decision that this is bad, then the opportunity to forgive or have compassion is limited. The opportunity to appreciate or have a solution is limited. So we want to allow ourselves the openness to release or let go of the labeling or the attachment to a label of the behavior. So we acknowledge the feeling. We forgive. We then find an appreciation. What is the opportunity in this challenge? Because while there is a challenge, there's an opportunity to connect deeper with my child. There is an opportunity to understand what led them to this point. How did they get here? Right? Which could be a combination of things. And then in that, we have a solution, right? So whenever we want to bring change, so for example, again, I'll use my body. So when I began learning ballroom dancing, I had to learn different ways of walking and moving. And in my rumba dance, there's a rumba walk. I had to completely walk way, way differently than I've ever been used to, move my body very differently. I had to acknowledge what I was doing, how I was originally walking, be very compassionate and forgiving of myself, not labeling, oh, that walk that you did, you know, your normal walking is bad. No, that normal walking is just normal walking. But for this dance, I'm going to have to move this way, right? So we have certain feelings, certain experiences, certain emotions, but then when it's time to connect with our child, there's another way to connect that's most beneficial, right? So similar to dance. When I have compassion for myself, then I can appreciate that, wow, I'm learning to walk in a new way. And you know what? The solution is to keep practicing. If I just keep showing up and practicing, my body will reshape. But if I keep beating myself down and telling myself what a bad person I am because I am, you know, should not be walking this way, I should be walking that way, my body's going to have a very difficult time to adapt. Our bodies adapt, and we adapt much easier when we show up with an embrace, with a welcoming, with an invitation to appreciate and to welcome the change, right? Now, once you have written in your journal and you feel complete for that moment, you're then going to be silent for about 1 to 2 minutes to start with. Some of you may take a bit longer if that feels natural and right for you. But 1 to 2 minutes, you're just going to take a moment to be silent. Just see what arises. Again, trying not to attach or label, but just see through this experience if any insights come up for you. Okay? And then if you have anything further that you want to write down after those 2 minutes, any insights that come up, you may do that. If you're seated, you're going to stand up. If you're already standing, you're going to stay standing. And then you're going to play an inspirational song. It could be a song that just gets you in a good mood, you enjoy, just really just brings into your body that feeling of aliveness and wellness, puts you, again, in a good mood. And you're going to begin moving to that. And you're going to be doing that for, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Okay? That's it. This is where we start. This is the beginning point. So we're not trying to force psychologically or change ourselves. What we're just doing is we're acknowledging, we're reflecting and acknowledging, we're showing up for ourselves compassionately, appreciating where this is taking us, what is happening in this journey, and then the solution will arise, and the natural change and the adaptability for the connection to our circumstances and our relationship to our child will show up for themselves, okay? So this is, again, just an introductory. I'm going to actually have a guided sequence, a 15-minute and a 30-minute. I'm going to start out with the 15 minutes to present to all of you, but I wanted to present to you just an overall introductory to this workout that I'm very passionate and very excited about. If you're interested in learning more or interested in being part of the workouts that I'm going to be doing live, then you can email me at info@maternityinstitute.com. Just put Conscious Parenting Workout in the title. You can join me. You can also tell all your parenting, any caregivers, nannies, anybody who works with children is just interested in being part of this to join us. I would love to have you all. Thank you so much for joining me, for being open, and for being interested in growth and personal development and deeper connection. It's a very, very tremendous gift. That is what I'm going to say. It's just a tremendous gift to have an opportunity to live and learn and to share from the learning. And I would love to hear from your experiences and hear how you're being moved for growth, for deeper connection. Thank you.